Hello everybody, and this is going to be a tutorial for Hearts of Iron 4 for beginners. This game is very difficult to learn, so I'm going to try to break it down into the basics for you. In this video, we're going to pick our country, we're going to set up everything, and then we're going to go to war. Should be fun. So, first, we have to pick a country. Just ignore the fact that I was already playing, who cares. There are two start dates that you can pick. The 14th of August, 1939, so basically a couple weeks before the war started in real life, and the 1st of January, 1936. Basically, always pick the 1st of January, 1936. And now here's the country screen. So here you have all of the major nations in the game at the start. France, USA, United Kingdom, the German Reich, Italy, Japan, and the Soviet Union. And down here, once you start to purchase DLC, I've turned off all my DLC for this video. Down here, you'll get all the countries that have focus trees, and we'll talk about what a focus tree is in a minute. So Poland is the only one because they have a free DLC that gives them a focus tree. And if you want to play a different country that isn't on this list, just go to select country, and you can pick any country in the world. Even Costa Rica. Though I don't see why you would. It'd be pretty boring. Anyway, let's go back to interesting countries. We're going to play as Germany, which it sounds weird. You may think that maybe playing a smaller country is better for you. But generally, not much happens with these smaller countries. And I do recommend checking some of them out. But in order to learn the game mechanics, it makes a lot more sense to play a major country, and I'll explain why Germany is the best, at least in this version of the game, which is No Step Back. Soon there will be a new version of the game coming out, but this is for No Step Back, and if you're watching it maybe like 6 months in the future, this tutorial should still be updated. I'll release an updated one when it's time. So France is a difficult nation to play. They're smaller than Germany, and obviously if you play the game historically, you're going to be invaded by Germany. So for a new player, you can win if you're experienced as France, but for a new player, I recommend not doing it. The United States can be very overpowered, and I might make a video on Communist USA, which is one of the most overpowered paths in the game. But it's a little complex at the beginning because you have some negative modifiers because you're in the Great Depression. You can even look down here. See, you have the Great Depression, so you have all these negative debuffs. The United Kingdom's a good nation to play as well, but they're an island nation, so you have to learn how to use the Navy, and the Navy's pretty complicated, so I'm not really going to get into it in this video. Then Italy, it's another good nation to play because it's not an island nation. You actually start off at war with Ethiopia. But it's kind of a crappy focus tree. They're getting a new one in the next DLC, so that's fun. Japan, another island nation, so you kind of have to learn how to use the Navy, not to fight China, although it helped to fight China, but to fight the United States and all the Dutch East Indies and all these other places that they did in real life. You need to learn how to use the Navy. The Soviet Union, if you watch a different tutorial, when I first started playing the game, I watched a tutorial on the Soviet Union. They are a good nation to play, but with the No Step Back update, it's actually pretty difficult to play them for a new player because you have all these things to worry about. So don't play as them. So that's why I believe Germany is probably the best nation to play for a new player, and it can be one of the strongest nations in the game if you play it right. So we're going to select them. Now down here on the right, you have two settings here. Historical AI focuses. Go ahead and tick this on. And then you also have Iron Man mode. Now, if you're going to play for the game's achievements, turn on Iron Man mode. But for the purposes of this tutorial, leave it off because it will allow you to save whenever you want and reload. And also use the console if you're a dirty cheater. But we're not going to use the console. And for difficulty, just play on regular. You can play on easier difficulties, but that's no fun. Regular's fine. And we can go ahead and click start. As you can see down here, we cannot get achievements because the game is not in Iron Man mode. That's perfectly fine. So, we're in Gathering Storm, January 1st, 1936. We're playing the German Reich with historical AI focuses on because we want things to happen how they did in history, basically. So, let's go ahead and start. And immediately, you're going to be bombarded with a bunch of things on the screen that are all incredibly confusing. let's start up here, all the way to the left. So, if you click on your country flag or press Q, you'll bring up this menu here. And from here, you'll be able to pick a national focus. You'll be able to see your national spirits, which show you the buffs and debuffs that you have. You'll see your country leader. Who's that guy? He's not a very good human. You'll see what alignment you are. There are 4 main ones, obviously. You can see here there's 4 main ones. There's the democratic, communist, fascist, and non-aligned. Non-aligned is like monarchies and whatnot. Under laws and government, you can see your conscription law. This will come into play once you're actually at war. You don't want to run out of manpower, because then you'll start running out of divisions. Your trade law, we'll get into that later actually. And then your economy law. This basically allows you to use more of your factories to build things instead of trading goods. We'll leave all that alone for now because we actually can't change any of it. And now under research and production, you got tank designer, ship designer, aircraft designer, material designer, and industrial concern. And then you can also pick a theorist. We're not going to touch any of these yet. This is something that you'll touch once you're ready to go to war. And then your military staff as well. You could pick a chief of the army, chief of the navy, chief of the air force, and then 3 members of your military high command. This little gavel, are your decisions. Now, if you've noticed, there's this little modifier here that says 150. It's got the little government building next to it, and it's red. That is our political power. Political power basically allows you to change your conscription, your economy law, take decisions, add people to your military high command, get the ships and tanks designers that I showed you earlier. So it's incredibly important to make sure that you got political power, and you just gain it every day. So right now we can't really do anything. We can cancel the MIFO bills. We're not going to do that yet because we're building up our nation to go to war. This is your research tab, and we're actually going to do some research in a minute once I get over to this tab. Diplomacy, this is the most useless screen in the game. Literally, it really doesn't help that much, but it can allow you to just go over to a country and do some diplomacy with it. Like here, it's Iraq. We can justify a war goal on them, but we're not going to do that because I don't want to go to war with Iraq because they're all the way over here, and I'm all the way over here. Next, the trade screen. This is actually an important screen. So each country has a different amount of resources. As you can see here, like we're producing quite a lot of steel, but we're not producing so much fuel or anything like that, which is historically accurate. So we might need, once we get to war, we might need to trade for some fuel in order to fuel our tanks and planes and ships. And this is the screen you do it for. Like right now, you can see we have a -5 deficit of rubber. That is because if we go over to this one, the little wrench with the cog, that's our production screen. You'll see we're producing trucks and airplanes. And obviously trucks and airplanes need tires, and tires take rubber. But we don't have any rubber like that naturally occurs in this country. So we need to trade for some. Let's do that right now. So if you want to trade for a specific thing, just click on it. So right now we're on the rubber screen. You can see which countries export rubber. The Dutch East Indies and British Malaya both export a lot. You can see why those countries wanted to colonize them. So trading for stuff takes convoys. So as you can see, if I try to trade for rubber from the Dutch East Indies, it would take 10 convoys. We have, if you look all the way up here, we have 194 convoys available to use. Now, if you're a smaller country, you don't have a lot of convoys, you may want to click this neighbor tab. It shows you countries that neighbor you and are right next to you, and they won't take any convoys. So let's do that. So the 2 countries that have rubber to be exported next to us are France and Belgium. Now, as Germany, I don't think it's a good idea to trade with France, at least right now, because we're going to be invading them by the end of this video. So let's go back and let's just do it with the Dutch East Indies for now, even though we're also going to invade the Netherlands. It's fine. So trading for stuff takes your civilian factories away to process it, and we're going to get into what types of factories there are. But for now, you're Germany. You've got enough factories to do this. Go ahead and hit send. The default amount that you can trade for is 8. That's the minimum amount that each trade goes for. So we're just going to trade for 8 because we only need 5. So that's gone through. You see it hasn't changed. It'll change over to 3 once we start getting going. Now, let's get to the factories that I just mentioned. This is the Construction tab. This is where you build factories. You need to build civilian factories which make things, they build things for you in order to build things like military factories which produce your military equipment. So we're actually going to immediately start off and we're going to place down some civilian factories. As Germany, you're going to get a lot of civilian factories really quickly because you're going to annex things like the Sudetenland and you're going to annex Austria, but it's good to put some down. Now, each of these has different building slots. You can see, for example, the Rhineland has 5 building slots being used out of 10. So that means if we wanted to, we could place down 5 civilian factories. But we're not going to do that yet. I've still got to explain what infrastructure does. Now, infrastructure, you could see there's percentages under these. This one has 80%, this one has 60%. Now, infrastructure essentially allows your factories to work better, produce things faster. As Germany, all your infrastructure is good right now. You don't really need to add anything. The minimum that I like to have is 60%. It makes your factories work just fine. So we're going to go over to the Ruhr area. This is what this was called in real life. The Rhineland and Musselland. I probably said that wrong. And what I want you guys to do is shift and left click. That will place down all of the factories available for those, all of the available building slots. So we place down 5 factories with just 1 click. Otherwise, for example, we go to Moselland over here. We'd need to click 7 times. And who wants to do that? Now, if you make a mistake and you want to place down something else, you right click. And if you want to take away all of the buildings that you just set to be built, you shift right click. But we don't want to do that because that's bad. So we're just going to go ahead and place down quite a few civilian factories because we're going to need to build a lot of military factories. Obviously, we're going to wage some aggressive wars. So just fill up the building slots in these areas for now. And that should give us enough to do what we got to do. Okay, next, we'll be able to see our military factories if we go over to production. So there are 2 things that will come up in the production screen. Your military factories that produce the equipment that your army is going to use and your air force, and naval dockyards, which are going to produce your submarines, your ships, your convoys, and anything else that involves the water, like if you have the Man the Guns DLC, which focuses on the Navy, you can have these floating harbors that you can use when you do naval invasions. So, the most important things in the game really are you need your infantry, support, and artillery equipment for your infantry, obviously. Your tanks. Tanks are incredibly important. Obviously, we're Germany. We're known for our tanks. We're going to be producing a lot of those. Trucks, you're going to need those, not only to bring supplies, which I'm going to show you how to do that later, but also for your panzer divisions, your tank divisions. Aircraft, your fighters, and close air support, those are the 2 most important aircraft that you're going to build, at least in this current patch. And then there's a tactical bomber. We'll get into what the different types of aircraft do. Now, for the Navy, again, we're not really going to get into the Navy, not in this video. It's probably the most complex part of the game and the hardest to really understand. I'm not really an expert on it. If you'd like, I can link some videos that show you how to use the Navy in a better way than what I can explain. So just check out the description for those. But what I'm going to do is, these are all the ships that are being built right now. What you should do is just click the end here. That will fill up as many naval dockyards as you have. So we have 2 available right now to build this. But I set it to try to use 10 if we have them available. Do that all the way down so that we can finish these ships. Because what's going to happen is, as each ship finishes, those naval dockyards will be freed up to work on the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Okay, now, so for our military factories, what I like to do is Germany, because we're going to make our own division template. We're going to customize the way our army works. I like to leave the 10 on our infantry equipment. I go 5 to towed artillery, and as you can see, we now have a deficit of tungsten. I then like to put 5 on fighters, and 5 future factories, because we don't have any factories to spare anymore, on close air support. Now, as you can see, we now have a -9 deficit on rubber, when we used to have a -3. That's because I put in more fighters. So let's go ahead and trade for some more from the Dutch East Indies, just like I showed you before. From the production screen, you can just click on it. You don't have to go to the trade screen. Same thing here. We need tungsten, so from the production screen, let's click on tungsten, and let's see. Again, we don't have any good neighbors that produce tungsten, because we're going to eat all these countries. Portugal's good, though, because we can actually deliver it. We don't need any convoys, because we have a land route to them. So we'll go ahead and take some tungsten from Portugal. And again, like I said, the deficit will change once I start the time. Okay, so now we've got our production all set. For now, we're going to be tweaking this. And really, as you start to play the game, learn to tweak it yourself so you can build your army the way you want. Now, recruit and deploy. So this is the screen where you train up your divisions and you tell them where to deploy. And you can also change the division template. What is a division template? Let's go ahead and look at our infantry division and edit it. So, as you can see, each of these little helmets is 1 infantry battalion. So right now we have 9 of them. This is actually good. This is what we want to keep as Germany, as any country in the current meta of the game. This is definitely going to change at some point, so just try to keep up to date with the meta. But for single player, it should be fine. The AI is kind of stupid, if I'm being honest. We have all these stats here. The main thing for an infantry division that you want to worry about is your combat width. So it's a little complicated, but essentially as you fight, each tile has a certain width that it can take. So if you can match up your division's combat width with how much combat width there is, you'll be able to have more divisions in the fight at once. That's a basic explanation. So we can't change this division at all yet, because we need something called Army Experience. And you gain Army Experience from, well, there's actually 3 experiences that you can gain. Army, Navy, and Air Force. And you gain those from having the Army, Navy, and Air Force advisors. You gain them from using your Army, Navy, or Air Force. You can exercise your Army, Navy, or Air Force. And there are a couple other ways, I believe. But that is how you edit your divisions, and if you have certain DLCs, you can make your own tanks and ships and whatnot, but we can't do that right now. So, we'll be changing this division soon. Once we get enough army experience, what we're going to do is we're going to add, so if you want to change something, you can click, you can click on any of these pluses. We're going to add an artillery battalion once we have 5 army experience. Now the equipment cost shows you what each division that you're producing is going to need. So, for example, one of our infantry divisions will need 9,600 manpower. It'll take 120 days to train. I think that's days. I actually don't remember. It'll show how much fuel it can take, how much fuel it will use, and then it'll show you how much equipment you need from each. And then your panzer divisions. The default German panzer divisions aren't that great, actually, so we're going to change these for sure. But for now, let's start building up some infantry divisions. So what you do is you click train. What I always do first is I set the deployment location. So the deployment location basically is just where your troops will spawn. This is helpful for if you're fighting a war, like we're going to fight Poland first. So let's go ahead and place down our divisions to spawn in this tile. Boom. They're going to spawn there now. Now, to train multiple divisions at once, don't do this. Don't do that. What you can do instead is this. You could click Add Unit. So let's add 12 divisions to be training at once. If you do it one at a time, your army will not be able to catch up with the AI's armies, because this is the correct way to build them. And we will also throw in a couple of panzer divisions as well. And a couple of motorized infantry divisions, which we're going to place in an army with our panzer divisions. And we'll get into armies here in a minute. So I'm doing 5 panzers, 5 infantry divisions, or 5 motorized infantry divisions, and just 12 infantry divisions right now. Your logistics, it basically shows you how much of something you need and how much of something... So your logistics basically shows you how much of something you need. So right now we have a deficit of negative 16,000 infantry equipment. And that's because we went and deployed a bunch of soldiers. We went and started training a bunch of soldiers that are going to need infantry equipment. We have a deficit of 1,100 tanks because we're training up some tank divisions. And we have a surplus of 174 convoys because we're not using all of our convoys, and that's fine. You don't want to use all your convoys. If you see 0 up here, you got to start producing more convoys. Then your officer corps. This will allow you to see your military high command members, your military theorists, and also your land, naval, and air doctrine, and we'll get into those once we get into war. Okay, so that's that tab all done. Now we can go up here. I probably should have done this first. I already showed you political power. On this screen, you can see how much political power you're gaining per day. Right now, we're gaining about 2.5 because we're not doing anything, and Mr. Adolf gives us a 25% bonus. Your stability is very important. Stability and war support sort of go together. If either of these drops under 50%, for war support, if it drops under 50% while you're at war, you may start to have mutinies, or your factory workers will stop going to the factories and you have to deal with that. This shows you your available manpower, how much you have freed. Right now, if you look down, we have 471,000 people in the army in total. About 270,000 of them are in the field, and 200,000 of them are training. We have 28,000 and 24,000 being used for the air and navy, respectively. And because of our conscription law, we can recruit 2.5% of our population. This shows you how many factories you have. We have 28 military factories, 10 dockyards, and 29 civilian factories. This is your fuel reserve. You're going to want to look at this pretty often while you're at war. So right now it says 352 days. That means it'll be 352 days until our fuel stores are all filled. So when you're at war, obviously your airplanes, tanks, and trucks are going to use fuel. So you got to keep an eye on that. And as Germany, you're going to have to trade for fuel. This shows you your logistics. Basically, your soldiers need supply. And if you don't have enough logistics, they're not going to get the equipment and things that they need, and they're not going to fight at full strength. And then this shows you your convoys, like I showed. Okay. Now you notice this is a bit shorter than it was at the start of the video. But we can still go with this anyways. So this is basically your notification screen. Anything important will come up here. Like, obviously, having insufficient resources is pretty important. But this is going to go away once I start the game time. So we need to set up our research. So click on research slot available. It'll open the research screen, or you can just click the research screen. We, as Germany, at the start of the game, we have 4 research slots. Some countries only have 2, some have 5. So let's go ahead and select 4 technologies to research. So the research tab, the splash screen for it is the infantry equipment tab, because that's the first one that's available. But we're actually going to scroll up here, and we're going to go over to engineering tab first. So click it, And begin research on electronic mechanical engineering. It'll increase your research speed and it'll unlock radio and radar, and those things are important. Next, go over all the way to the right tab and click on Industry. Begin research on basic machine tools. Do the same thing. Begin research on Construction 1. And then for our final research slot, let's go back to Infantry and begin research on the 1918 MG08 and Leichter Meinwerfer. Okay, I'm sorry. Alright. Now, this is telling us we have no national focus set. So you can click that, or you can click on your country's flag and go to select national focus. So if you're watching somebody that has DLC, they're gonna have a path over here that's like bring back the monarchy or go democracy, but we don't have the DLC for that enabled right now. So there are a few things you can go for. Is Germany at the start? I recommend just going for Rhineland. That's the first one that the AI does, and it'll allow us to start on our path of invading countries, taking countries, and whatnot. So let's do Rhineland first. Okay, now this tab is showing us that we have unassigned divisions, so let's go ahead and scroll in. Wow, look, we have a bunch of divisions here. Now, we should organize our army a bit. So what I want you to do, this is a tip that it took me a while to actually figure out because I'm stupid. If you press Shift and you click on the unassigned divisions thing, it'll select every single division in your army. Now, what I want you to do is find a Panzer division and double-click on this screen. Double-click a Panzer division. So now it's selected every Panzer division that I have. Go ahead, look down here, and you see this green plus. Click it. That put those Panzer divisions in an army. So go ahead, do the same thing. Shift-click unassigned divisions to select all of them. Double-click your motorized infantry division. You only have one of them. Go ahead and place them in the same army that you just placed those 3 tanks in by right-clicking on this little portrait here. See, now there's 4 of them. They're all in this army. Now, let's do the same thing. Shift-click on it. And hit the plus. So now we've got all of our infantry units and all of our motorized units in 2 separate armies. What I generally do is I'll click this button, New Theater. This allows you to sort of sort your army so you don't get confused of like which army's fighting where. So click it, and we can rename it just by clicking on it and typing it. I like to name it Tanks, just so I know that these are my tanks. Now we should probably assign these guys a general, right? That makes sense. If you're an army, you want to have a commander to fight for. So if you click on your army, go over to the left, click to assign. Click it. Now we've got all of these generals. Let me see if I can find them. Steiner. I'm sure we all know of Steiner. But let's go back up. If you notice, these guys all have these. So here's Rommel. This is probably the German general that you know, if you know anything about World War II. He's got these different traits and whatnot, and you can give him traits and everything. So Rommel's a reckless general, so he'll plan really fast, but he might get wounded. Yeah, your generals can get wounded in combat, and it'll hurt their stats and your army stats, but not in a major way, so don't worry about that. He's a media personality, so he'll take a while to change divisions or change armies. If you assign him to a different army or maybe make him into a field marshal, so he'll look over an entire army group, it'll take him a while to change his role. He's a panzer leader, so he's good for your tank division, so I'm not going to put him on this infantry army. He's a war hero, and he's a trickster. And then you can look up here. He has level 4 attack, level 4 defense, level 2 planning, and level 3 supply consumption. So that's the basic stats. They all kind of speak to themselves of what they do. So we're going to go down, because all these guys are armor officers, so I don't want to use them yet. We're going to go to Fedor von Bock, and we're going to click on him. Now Fedor von Bock is the commander of this army. But if you notice, it's red, and it's saying we have 26 out of 24 divisions. So At the start, all of your generals will only be able to command 24 divisions effectively at once. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 divisions out. In fact, I'll just take these 2. I'll take this cavalry division here, as you can see he's got the horsey, and this mountaineer division. And we'll go ahead and click on them both. What you want to select each of them, click on one, and then shift left click the other, and hit the plus. Now, I'm going to change both of these into infantry divisions because I don't want a mountaineer division at the moment. We're not actually going to do much fighting in the mountains, believe it or not. So we don't really need them, and they can be better used in a different special forces. Essentially, your special forces, you can only have a certain number of them. They can be Marines, paratroopers, special forces, or mountaineers off the top of my head. So to change these divisions, make sure you have them selected, both of them. You can tell because they're both green. Next to 2 selected, see these arrows. It says change division template. Go ahead and do that. Click it, and then click on infantry division and click OK. So now they're both infantry divisions. And let's go ahead and give them a commander. Sure, Maximilian von Weichs. He's a cavalry officer, but he will learn to lead infantry. He'll gain the trait of infantry leader. So look, we did it. We have our armies. They're all sorted and everything. Let's give them some orders, shall we? So I'm sure you've noticed, we'll click on our purple army with 24. You've got all these things you can put down here. Now the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to assign a front line. So click on front line. It'll say 24 divisions will be assigned. We have 24 in the army, so good, we have them all selected. And click on Poland. Now watch what happens when I start up the game. So to start up the game, you can press the space bar. And to change how fast the game goes, click the pluses up here or click one of these slots here. 5 is the fastest. I've got a supercomputer, so it's going to run pretty fast. Look. Oh, all these arrows are telling you where your army's going. Now look, they're all on the front line with Poland. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So we're going to keep that for now. In fact, actually, let me show you guys this. So it might be pretty tedious to control every single army at once separately, given all these different front lines, especially once you get into the mid-game, whereas Germany, you're probably going to have 10 armies in total of infantry and then quite a few tanks. So if you go up here to German Theater 1, you click on your purple army that's on the Poland front line, go ahead down here, and right-click to delete order, and press OK. It'll delete every order from the army. Now click on the purple army, shift-click on the orange army, and go down here. You see to the left, there's 2 pluses. There's one on the right, which will create a new army, and it'll assign all those divisions to that army. We don't want to do that. You could click New Army Group. So go click New Army Group. Now look, we can manage both of these armies at the same time. So if you go down, make sure you're controlling the army group, and press a front line. Look at that. Now both of our armies, you see our 2 divisions are going to go here, and then the 24 are going to go here. Both of our armies will be able to be controlled at once. But let's go ahead and assign this army group a commander. So army groups are commanded by field marshals. So let's go ahead and put Gerd von Rundstedt. Why not? He's the commander of Army Group 1. Now, let's go ahead and let the game run, because we're all set. We're all set up and ready to go for now. So click it and let the game run. And I will see you when we have something to do. Okay, our national focus has finished. So sometimes for certain events, these news blurbs will pop up. So Germany has stationed troops in the Rhineland territory. That's cool. That's what we did. So national focus completed. Rhineland. And you'll notice there's no longer red around this area. The red indicates that it's a demilitarized zone, and you could not have troops enter, but now I can send my tanks there. Oh, but how did I just do that? So, I'm going to press H to halt all my units, and I'll show you. So I've selected my tanks and motorized divisions, and all you do to get them to move is you right-click on a certain tile, and they'll move there. How cool, right? But that was kind of slow, you know? At least by tank standards. So if you want your units to deploy really quickly, like, well, let's send them to Magdeburg. Click on it, and then go up here, and you see this little rail? Click on it. Watch how fast they'll move. What that makes them do is it makes them strategic redeploy, which sends them on the railways and any infrastructure that you have, and it'll make them move really quickly. That's helpful if, for example, you have your army on the Polish border, but then all of a sudden France invades you, and you need to get them over very quickly. Right, so we should probably pick a new national focus. So if you want to go historically, you'd befriend Japan. But right now, we're not going to do that. At least not yet. And that is because we need to build up our infantry a lot. So I recommend next taking the 4-year plan focus. What that'll do is I'll explain it. It'll allow you to research industry faster, and you'll gain some political advisors that will help you with your industry. And speaking of that, we now have some political power to spend. We got 237 in the time it took for Rhineland to finish. Let's take a look at what political advisors we can pick. You could pick Heinrich Himmler. He'll give you more manpower from states that are non-core states. Essentially, core states are your territory. You get the most manpower from them, and you get, like, the most of the factories and the most of the produced resources from those areas. But first, I'm going to pick the silent workhorse because he's going to give us more political power, and you could never have too much political power. So we're going to pick him first. And now we have 87 political power. We can't really spend that on anything. So I'll see you when we have something to do next. As you can see here, the Spanish Civil War began. As Germany, you can send them some guns by starting a Lend-Lease, which sends that you can send them guns and equipment. Sure, let's do it. What have we got? We've got some artillery. So start Lend-Lease. You can click on certain equipment here, like tanks, armored vehicles, airplanes, ships, and infantry equipment. I want to send them some artillery because I've got 110 in storage. Everything else we don't have anything to spare because we're building up our army. So I'm going to click once. I'll just send them 50 pieces of artillery. Let's send them some help because we want them to win. We don't want these filthy communists to win. So they've accepted the Lend-Lease. How cool. I'll see you when we have something German to worry about. Literally one in-game day after I last saw you, we finished one of our researches. A new research slot came available. So, let's go ahead and continue down this path, and let's research mechanical computing so we can get even faster research. Ah, here we go. We've got something to do now. If you're listening on your ears, you would have just heard a noise, and you're like, huh, what's that? Well, a new soldier, or a new division has come to be. 5 of them, to be exact. So you could do the trick again. Shift click on it. It'll select every division. And let's go ahead and put them on our army that only has 2, because they can take 24. And before I forget, let's go ahead to our tank army and assign Rommel to command them. So what I want you to do is, until you have 24 divisions, just keep filling them out here into your orange army, and then we're gonna make another. Army, and we're gonna place it in Ermland Masserin, basically Kaliningrad in modern time. Actually, I think it's Königsberg, but whatever. You know what I mean. All right, we've completed the 4-year plan focus, and there's another reason why I'm kind of stalling. So as Germany, in order to make it so you can't just eat all of Europe immediately, the game has manpower constraints on what you can and can't do. So in order to take Anschluss, which is basically what annexed Austria into Germany, we need 500,000 manpower divisions in the field. Now currently we have over 528,000 people in our army, but only 326,000 of them are in the field. So we're going to have to wait to take these decisions. Otherwise, Germany would be able to get really powerful really quickly. So instead, go down and take the autarky path. I don't think that's how you say it. I'm not German. That'll allow us to construct things faster, research things faster, and it'll also allow us to take focuses that'll give us more civilian factories. And we've got 194 political power to spend. I think we can go ahead and get somebody to work for our army. We actually have 5 army experience, so we'll be able to add those artillery battalions now as well, so we'll do that too. Generally, we're Germany. Army maneuver is a good one. It'll let you move faster, but I'm going to go with army offense because we can't take him yet because we haven't finished a national focus that will allow us to. You can always change out your chief of army, so for now we'll go with army offense. And we have 5 army experience, so if you remember, go back to the recruit and deploy screen, go over to these infantry divisions, and place an artillery battalion. I either do it here or at the back. I'm not 100% sure of how much that affects things. I haven't noticed it, at least against the AI. So you've placed our artillery battalion. That'll let them punch that much harder against other infantry. So save it. And now all that artillery you were making is going to come in handy, even though we're going to need to start producing a lot more of it. As you can see, we have a deficit of 1,500, and we're only making 4 of them every day. As you can see, we've had 2 research things finish at once. So for now, we can't research anything else, because if you haven't noticed, up here, there's years. This tells you what year each equipment is coming from, and when it is supposed to happen. If you research something too far in the future, it's going to take a long time. So for example, if we tried to research this, which comes out in 1938, it's only 36. So it'll take over 400 days to do that. And we don't want to do that. That'll hamstring our army. So instead, let's go over here. And look, we took that national focus that will allow us to research these things quicker. So let's go for Dispersed Industry. Now this thing here means that these are mutually exclusive. You can only take one path. It's been found that Dispersed Industry is more effective in this current patch, so we're going to go for it. We have another technology to research. Let's research radio. We can use radio for a lot of things. Once you have the DLC, at least. But radio will let you be more coordinated, and it'll allow your units to fight better. Alright, we finished the construction research. Let's go ahead and research. Let's see. Well, we've got a research slot available, because everything else... Now, we could research construction too, or improve machine tools while we have the bonus. But actually, I want to research our interwar artillery, so we could get our artillery upgraded. But at this point, researching either of these things is fine because they have a 100% bonus. But it's fine, we'll be researching those soon anyways. And also, I'm still filling out this army. Remember, I told you, have 24 divisions in each of these 2 armies here. That's going to be enough to take out Poland, and then we'll need to fill out this pocket here. Otherwise, Poland will just take it, and that sucks. Okay, we finished our next national focus, autarky. So let's see, can we do Anschluss? As soon as you can do Anschluss, do it. But we can't do it, so let's do Hermann Göring work. Think that's how you say that? Probably not. That'll give us civilian factories, and we can obviously really use those right now before we begin our military buildup in about a couple of years. Alright, we finished with Dispersed Industry 1. Now, let's go ahead and go down the construction path. And I forgot to mention, so Dispersed Industry will allow you to put, if you didn't read it as you researched it yourself, will allow you to put more factories in an area, and so will Concentrated. So remember, we filled all these out with we filled all these out with civilian factories, but now we have 2 slots available in each of them. So basically, that's why you want to keep doing Dispersed. It'll also help them against enemy bombers and whatnot, but you want to keep building up and building up more factories so you can keep your army going. Okay, so Hermann Gory work is over. Still can't do Anschluss. Let's do KDF Wagen. Get some more civilian factories. Oh, and we've got some insufficient resources. Now, we all of a sudden just got an insufficient resource in chromium. And if you did what I did, you'll also have it. That's because we started building a ship that takes chromium. It'll be finished in 3 years with this deficit, so I'd recommend taking it, getting some chromium from the Soviet Union. And now, it'll be finished in 2 years from now, in-game, basically. October 16th in 1938, it's October 11th. And also, continuing to fill out our army. Also, completely forgot, we've got some political power to spend. Let's pick the Captain of Industry because he will build civilian factories faster. And let's also... Wow, this is interesting. Who should we take? There are a lot of options. Obviously, don't pick the Communist Revolutionary or the Democratic Reformer. But we're going to be building military factories soon. Let's take the War Industrialist. Alright, we finished researching radio. Let's go ahead and... What should we pick? I'm so used to playing with the DLC, which gives you even more things to research. So now I'm trying to figure out what to do next, because I think we're all caught up on everything we need to be caught up on. Let's go ahead and research Excavation 1. Although at this point, as long as you keep your equipment, your military equipment up to date, you can kind of go and research what you want with the way you want to play. Again, more research slots to use. Don't really have anything to research. Let's research radio detection and improved machine tools. Why not? Even though it's too early to research it technically, it's only going to be 137 days, so why not? And also, we've got some more political power to use. Let's add a Chief of the Air Force. I think Hermann Göring is probably the way to go, because he gives you a 10% boost in air superiority, and air superiority is very important. And now we've also only got 5 more days after this one in this national focus. So we can't quite do Anschluss, we almost can. If I really wanted to, I could force deploy all these units before they have enough, but I'm not really worried about time right now. So for our next one, I'm going to take Army Innovations because I want to get Rommel as a member of the Military High Command because he gives bonus to armor, and we're an armor-based army, so we're going to need him to help us out. And as you can see, we're slowly starting to gain air experience because we took Göring. Hey, wait a second. What's this? I'm not sure if you also have this, but look, they've got little boxes above them. So basically, this means they're running low on supplies. And you can tell how bad it is by what color it is. The darker, the more red those boxes are, the worse they are on supply. So let's go and check. Let's see. Why are they running so bad on supply? So if we click on Supply Hub, we'll be able to see these are the tiles these guys are in. It's kind of red. So they got kind of crappy supply. Now, I don't know why. They've got a pretty nice... They're pretty close to a supply hub. Now, the only thing I can see is maybe because this railway is only level 1. So if you want to upgrade your railway and let it take on more supply and whatnot, just click it. Just click on the number. Now it's going to upgrade to a level 2 railway. And just because I'm a little OCD about it, I'm going to go connect this railway to this port, and I'll also make that a level 2 railway. So we could get a lot of supply flowing through here. And let's see if that fixes the issue. Railways don't take that long to complete. See, it'll only take 16 days to upgrade that railway. And we've also got a research thing available. Let's go ahead and research Dispersed Industry 2. Okay, so as you can see, it went away. And that'll happen sometimes. Because there's local supply, and then there's supply that you source through supply hubs and move through. So basically what those guys had done is they must have taken away the local supply and had to wait for more of it to be brought up. But it's never bad to change up your railway network. And we can actually check our logistics and see how many trucks we have. Well, let's look at how many trucks we've produced. Okay, we've got a deficit of 1,100 trucks. What you can do, if you have a lot of trucks to spare, if you shift-click on a supply hub, you can see the supply hubs, they're these things. They're the naval bases, they're this. This is your capital hub. This is where all the supply begins, basically. If you shift left-click once, it'll make it motorized, and if you shift left-click again, it'll make it extra motorized and allow the supply to go further. But let's shift left-click it again. We don't have any trucks to spare at the moment, and we're not producing enough, really, to put that in any large scale. Let's just instead stick with the railways for now. We've got plenty of trains, and we're not having any serious supply issues yet. But when you invade the Soviet Union, supply issues are going to be the name of the game, and that's what happened in real life if you've researched Operation Barbarossa. All right, we've got 150 political power now. So what we can do now is we can up from limited conscription to extensive conscription, but I'm not going to do that yet. We're not at war yet. We don't need it. But we're about to go under 1 million manpower. And that's a little low as Germany, because you're going to have such a big army, but it's fine. We can upgrade that whenever. Instead, I'm not going to add a chief of the Navy because we're not really going to use the Navy yet. We can add a military high command member. There's a lot of interesting options. We're probably going to end up going with close air support and armor when we can get them. So this slot here is going to be important. So we've already got an army offense guy, so I'm not sure if I want to do the infantry guy because he's just going to give them another attack bonus, and we don't really need it, not against the AI. I think I'm going to go with the army regrouping guy. He will allow our armies to recoup faster and fight again. But another option is also the logistics guy. He'll give less attrition, which I'm not gonna play this game long enough to invade the Soviet Union. But if I were, I'd probably switch over to him just to give us that extra little bonus. But for now, we'll go with Gerd von Rundstedt. And I actually said that name right because I'm really smart. But for now, we'll just keep moving on. We're still 2 years away from war, basically. I know, this game takes a while to get going, but once it does, it's really fun. Finish another research. Not much we can research here now. Let's go ahead and research excavation too. And we finished the Army Innovations focus. Still can't quite do Anschluss. We're very close. We just need to get these divisions in the field. Not quite yet. So let's go and do... Interesting. Let's see. Let's befriend Japan. Let's get these let's get this tripartite pact underway, shall we? Another research thing open. Let's see what we can do. We can't quite research our tanks yet. I don't want to move up to medium tanks, not for this video. There are 3 types of tanks: light, medium, and heavy. Against the AI, I found that light works just fine. But if you're playing a nation with a massive industrial capacity, you could go for heavy. The Germans could also make medium work, but right now we can't because we don't have a medium tank available quite yet. Instead, what should we research? This is always the tough part. We can start to research these synthetic things. As Germany, it's going to be important to build some synthetic factories, so let's go with oil processing. We don't have any synthetic factories yet, I don't believe. And now our manpower has dipped under 1 million. Ooh, perfect timing. I've got something I can show you. So this just came up. Doctrines available. We can unlock a new land doctrine. Now there are 4 doctrines. If you're not playing the Soviet Union or China, ignore these last 2. These 2 are the ones you're going to want to use for basically any nation. As Germany, we've already started on mobile warfare. You have that at the start. Some nations are already on a doctrine at the start of the game. We're going to continue down the mobile warfare path. Most people would say superior firepower is the best. But for a nation like Germany, the United States, mobile warfare works just fine because you can build up a lot of tanks and a lot of motorized. So we have a 50% reduction on how much it costs. By default, it costs 100 army experience. We only have 50. So let's continue to go down the path. Every time a land doctrine becomes available, unless you're planning to change one of your division templates, you can go ahead and go down to the next one once it becomes available. But we need 50 army experience. We don't have that. And we're going to end up going down the Blitzkrieg path. They're mutually exclusive. Mobile infantry is not a good path. Blitzkrieg is. Modern Blitzkrieg risk is going to stick to the right. Okay, we've got some interesting events that just happened. For one, the Hindenburg disaster. And Chiang Kai-shek was executed. Chiang Kai-shek was the leader of nationalist China. He's been executed. That is a random event that can happen. And that's not good. That's not good for China. Obviously, that'll make them even weaker. But we finished our focus to befriend Japan. So let's go ahead and do our next focus. We are so close to Anschluss now. Once all these divisions enter the field, we'll be good. So we have time for about one more focus before that. Let's go ahead and do the anti-Comintern pack. And we've got some free civilian factories. We can build a few more, but we're almost at the time where we're going to switch over to building military factories, which for Germany is 1938. There are times for each nation when it's the best. If you're going to be in the early war, it's generally 1938. But if you're a country like the Soviet Union, you can stretch it to 1939. Oh yeah, we've got political power to spend. Let's go ahead and get Erwin Rommel. And let's go ahead and we can research the next radar. It's 189 days. That's not too long. And we finished our construction research. See, that's why that event sucks for China. The Chinese Civil War has kicked off again, and a bit earlier than it normally does in the game. Now, I believe they will sometimes go back and be at peace with each other, but China is just about to be invaded by Japan, so that's not good for them. Got some more divisions. Again, just going to keep filling this out. More research available. Let's research fuel refining. Gas is important. We've got more free civilian factories. Let's build 3 more. Actually, I want to leave some space open. Let's build this much more. We're going to get a lot of free civilian factories from the places that we annex, so I'm not too pressed about it. Yep, and there we go. Japan and China are at war now. So if you go over here, if you right-click on a nation, it'll bring up the diplomacy menu with them. As we can see, China is at war with Japan and its puppeted countries, and also communist China, and so that sucks for them. Oh, we can already gain the war goal against the USSR. Let's not do that. We're not strong enough to fight them yet. Though at this point in the game, they're not strong enough to fight us either, so that's fine. Again, can't do Anschluss quite yet. We're almost there. In fact, I bet I could force it to happen if I force deployed all these divisions, but again, I'm not too pressed about it. I'm going to go ahead and go with coal liquidization. It'll give us a free synthetic factory, and it'll also allow us to research those technologies even quicker, which is important as Germany. And without our help, because normally Germany will help, nationalist Spain is losing because the Soviet Union is sending volunteers and lend-lease and whatnot. But instead, they only have Italy helping them, and we all know how good Italy is. But that's fine. Again, I'm not worried about it. Not yet. I'm not going to be playing the game long enough for that to really matter. And again, it's just a tutorial. I don't want to make it too complicated. It's already really a complex game, and it'll take you a while to learn it. Even I'm still not that great at it. I just understand it enough. And now we can start building some military factories. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill out basically all this area with military factories now. And now that we're doing that, we can go ahead and set up what we want our factories to do. I'm going to keep 10 on guns. I'll add 5 to support equipment. I'm going to go 15 on panzers. About 8 on trucks will do. 15 on fighters, 15 on close air support, and we'll keep the 1 on tactical bombers for now. It's fine. That's about what I like to do. In fact, we'll go up to 7 on artillery. And that should work quite well for us. Otherwise, every time a military factory is built, it'll say you have available factories. Instead, I like to just preset it up the way I want it to be, so I don't have to keep tweaking it. Also, we have 150 political power now. I actually want to upgrade to extensive conscription. I'm not going to go any higher than that unless things get really bad, which they won't. And we've also got enough to do Anschluss yet, but we're just going to go ahead and wait the next 20 days to do it, because we're still finishing our last focus. Now, you can cancel a focus, but I don't want to. We've finally got our first tank division ready. Let's go ahead and place it with the rest of them. And we have now filled out our 2 army groups here, so I'm going to show you what to do. How to prepare for this invasion of Poland that we're going to do in about 2 years from now. So each field marshal can take up to 5 army groups. For now, I'm just going to give them the 2. But we'll add more once we're done taking Poland. So you can micromanage your divisions once you're at war by moving them the way I showed you. You can just click on them and then right-click, but we can't do it now because we're not at war. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to change some settings with this guy, with Gerd von Rundstedt. So first, we're going to change him. If you go to these 2 arrows, it'll say he's currently executing his battle plans in a balanced manner. For Poland and whatnot, you can set that to aggressive. He'll just attack as often as he can, not worrying about his unit's organization, which if you look here, it'll show you. If you look at all these units, it'll show you each of their organizations. It's the green bar. They've all got max organization now, obviously, because they're not fighting or anything, but we'll set that to aggressive. We've already got our frontline order set with Poland, and that's good. But what we're going to do now is we're going to set an offensive line. So click it, and then generally I like to build my offensive line to here. So right click, and then just drag all the way down. And now, once the war starts, we'll click to activate the execution of that plan, and Gerd von Rundstedt's going to send his armies to attack everywhere and get to here. We're also going to do the same for the 24 divisions that we're going to put in Ermland, Mazarin, and Königsberg. I don't know. Like, why do they got to be so complicated? Yeah, we're going to send them down to take Warsaw and Krakow. Okay, finished with oil processing. That's fine. Okay, we're at the time now where we can research our 1938 guns and crap, even though it's late 37. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I won't tell. Okay, and let's start putting our troops in the little Polish corridor area. Let's assign Erwin von Witzleben. And we can set up a battle order early. Let's just do it now. I usually set it to there. Basically, one army's going to push, one army's going to go south. So we've got that all set up now, and then we can just keep putting divisions. Fill up the army to 24, and then we're good. And then we're also going to need to put men on the border with France, and we're going to need to put men guarding our ports. Because once you go to war, the United Kingdom is going to naval invade you over and over again, because that's all they know how to do. And if you're not paying attention, you could be like, okay, we're taking Poland, guys, we're doing it. And then all of a sudden, the United Kingdom has all of your territory. Yes, I've done that a couple times. One time I was invading the Soviet Union, I come back over to Germany, and Yugoslavia is all the way up here because Italy failed. So, don't get tunnel vision, guys. We finished our national focus. Let's do Anschluss now. Let's take over Austria. Although it's really, they voted to be part of Germany, totally legitimately as well, but definitely 100% legit. And our manpower is going up now because we went with extensive conscription. And that's the highest I want to go, because once you get up to service by requirement and whatnot, the negative modifiers are pretty high. Like for now, extensive conscription just increases the training time by 10%. It's not a big deal. You can literally, once they get all their equipment, you can force deploy them as long as they have 20% training if you really need men in the field. But then service by requirement ruins your output in your factories and dockyards, and then there's the really, really desperate ones. We're not going to have to go up to those. The most I've ever gone up to is Germany is service by requirement. And also with our 300 bonuses, let's go to those now. But yeah, the most I've ever gone up to is Germany is service by requirement. And we could take another land doctrine. Like I said, just go down. Just go down the path. Okay, so now due to the focuses that we've done, we've built a synthetic refinery and we've increased it to give us more rubber. We actually are taking too much rubber from the Dutch East Indies at the moment. And soon we're going to be able to retrade with them again because we're going to be making more trucks and airplanes and whatnot. So what you want to do is if you're trading for too much of it, it'll be yellow. So just click on it, click on your trade with them, and just lower it by 1. Now we're only trading for 8. Look at that. Oh, wait a second. Let's go over to the map. So Italy wants Yugoslavia. Okay, so here's Austria. Now it's mine. And we get a bunch of extra divisions. So again, to select multiple, you could just click and drag on them. I'm going to turn them all into our infantry divisions. Most of them already were. And I'm going to go ahead and place them on our army in that Königsberg pocket. Now we can get even more territory. Let's do it, because we got to start our rapid build-up to get ready. So let's demand the Sudetenland. Sudetenland will give you a lot of factories, so that's good. This is the Sudetenland here. A lot of ethnic Germans lived here, so they claimed it. And the Czechoslovakia was forced to just kind of give it to them. Wait, not that research. Let's make some more rubber. See, even I don't know what I'm doing half the time. No. Okay, we can't. We lost our bonus. See, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I need a tutorial. Let's research this. Oh, and we've got a bunch of motorized divisions now. Perfect. Things are going along so well, guys. Here's a good example of what I showed you earlier. They're red. You see? That means they're out of supply, basically. Like, yeah, they have, if you go here and hover over them, they have 15% supply. And I'm no expert, but that's quite bad. Now, why are they not getting any supply? It's because there's no supply hub right next to them. With trains, supply has a kind of limited range. It's a lot better if you use trucks. So watch, I'm going to make these 2 supply hubs motorized. And it'll give us a really big deficit because we need 160 trucks to do that. But we're building a good amount of them now. 3 of them a day. So we'll recover. We'll be fine. And we've got enough stored political power that we can add the Blitzkrieg theorist, Heinz Guderian. So go ahead and do that. He'll give you a research bonus to your armor. And he'll also make it cheaper to purchase the land doctrine that we're going down. Alright, we finished this demand Sudetenland focus. So, look at the Sudetenland. Right now it's part of Czechoslovakia. Now we click on the button. It's not. It's ours. You get a good-ass amount of factories from it. So much so that we now need to trade for more rubber because we're now using those factories to produce some airplanes. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I've completely finished with all of the army that I'm going to need to sweep Poland aside. Oh, this looks like we're going to need a... We'll make these motorized as well over here because these guys are getting some crappy supply. Now let's go ahead and reassert our eastern claims. We're going to get... Lithuania will give us this territory because it's on historical AI. Otherwise, we'd have to take it from them, and that sucks. Yes, now there's Czechoslovak troops on our territory because we just took it from them. Now, that sucks. I feel bad. But it's also a core state of ours, so we'll get access to everything that we would at any of our normal states. So anyway, now that we're done with all of our army for Poland, we're going to need to place 13 divisions on the Maginot Line. If you don't know what the Maginot Line is, it's essentially a super high, like all maxed out forts on the Franco-German border. Or so you can't just invade straight through it. So what you're going to have to do, and what Germany did in real life, is you're going to have to actually invade through these 3 countries to take out France. And France will fall very quickly. So don't do what I did early on and forget about the Maginot Line. World War II is my historical area of expertise, even though I don't know a lot about it compared to real experts. And I still try to bash my head through the Maginot Line because I did not understand the game yet, and Italy had to save my ass, which is the only time Italy has ever done anything for me in this game. But look, now our country's nice and big. Oh, and Republic and Spain won. That's fine. Got some research to do, I forgot. We can go ahead and this is the issue with no DLC. There's not a lot to research, so I feel like I'm always super far ahead. And I don't know which one to do. We can research the upgraded artillery, why not? Oh, and let's begin putting our forces on the Maginot Line. I'm going to put them in a new theater, and I usually call it something like... Here we go. Maginot no attack, so I remember not to attack. France won't attack at the Maginot Line either. In real life, there's something called the Phony War, which happened after Germany invaded Poland. Nobody did anything, so they won't attack you. So don't worry about it too much, but make sure you have somebody defending it. So let's put Georg von Kukler in command of the Maginot Line forces, and let's move over our forces to over there. We're also going to put, we won't need forces on the Belgian border and whatnot, so we're going to use the rest of our forces to guard our ports, all of the other forces that we produce after we fill this out to guard our ports, because, like I said, the UK is going to naval invade us a lot, and we have more factories. We got to fill out this. We need to build more military factories, guys. More military factories. And also, I forgot, let's put our tanks on the border with Poland. Or if we really wanted to, we could stick them on the Belgian border. In fact, I think I'm going to do that, because we're going to use our armor to invade through Belgium, kind of like how the Germans did in real life, and we're going to take Paris as quickly as possible. And essentially, once Paris is taken in this game, France will fall. Don't let that trick you. In real life, France fought till the bitter end, basically, even though their country fell very quickly. And we need more trade, so the Dutch East Indies. Even though we're not going to be able to trade with the Dutch East Indies, so we are actually going to have to start building synthetic factories soon. Alright, we've taken Memel back. That's good. It's our rightful territory. It's probably not. It's fine. Let's go ahead and... Not yet. Let's do the first Vienna Award, because we're getting quite close to when the war started in real life. So I want to try to start it on time. You know, it does not matter. You are Germany. You are the aggressor. You start World War II. Although if you take too long, the Soviet Union will most likely invade Poland. So don't take too long. Otherwise, the Soviet Union will start World War II. Yeah, it's... Move quick, but slow. Or, I don't know, fight the Soviet Union for Poland. You could probably do that. I mean, we're fascists. We can justify a war goal on anybody that we want because we're fascist. All right, let's start adding some tank designers. We're going to go with the mobile tank designer. So remember, you click on your flag, you click here, tank designer. I'm going to go with mobile because we're using light tanks and I want to move really quickly. Basically, the goal of my light tanks is... The goal of light tanks should be take on infantry units and move quickly and take territory. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do our little blitzkrieg. Even though the German High Command actually did not like the name blitzkrieg at all. So we have available dockyards now because all of our ships are done. As Germany, we're not going to invade the UK, so I'm not going to worry about building up a navy to try to take on the Royal Navy. As a new player, there is no chance in hell you're going to be able to take on the Royal Navy. So instead, I'm going to start building more convoys for trade and whatnot because that's going to become very important soon. And I'm going to set it to use 10 of our dockyards because we only have 10 right now and 5 of them are being used to finish up this ship. And I'm also going to begin to diversify my rubber supply because what's going to happen is once I go to war, the Royal Navy is going to rock my shit and start sinking a lot of convoys heading for me, which is why it's so important to have those synthetic factories. And let's go ahead and let's add an aircraft designer now. So either light aircraft designer or close air support designer are the ones that I'd recommend going for. Right now, close air support is the meta. It's very strong. It helps your infantry units pierce and break through. So, and a light aircraft designer will help you get air superiority. We're basically in the aircraft meta. Like, aircraft are very strong. So go with either of these. For now, I'm going to go with Messerschmitt to give my fighters a boost. The German fighters are already very good in this game. But let's give them an extra boost. Why not? And we're building quite a lot of them. All right, the first Vienna Award we've given Hungary. This part of the country now, even though it was part of Czechoslovakia, we've given it to Hungary. And now we're going to eat Czechoslovakia. And again, Blitzkrieg. Don't go down the left side, go down the right side. Oh, I just opened the air menu by accident. But wrong thing. No, you go there. You're not invading Belgium quite yet. Again, I'm starting to diversify my rubber supply. In fact, let me show you this now. So if you don't want to have to manually assign every division, go to your recruit and deploy screen, click on this little gray circle, and you'll see it has an arrow. Then you can click on any order on the map that you want, and it'll automatically set the division that you deployed to those orders. So here, I'll force deploy this division here. Right now we have 15. Force deploy. Now it has 16. Look, I'll even fill it up. Why not? We have enough. I'll fill up the Maginot line with 24 divisions, even though we don't really need that many to hold it. And then if you want to take the order away, just right-click. So no, 24 divisions are guarding the Maginot line, even though they totally don't have to. It's fine, though. How are things going for China? Not so good. Now we've got some free military factories. That is perfectly fine. I'm going to start building up a shit ton of fighters. I'm going to set it to go to 30. Okay. So the fate of Czechoslovakia. What I recommend doing, don't select all of Czechoslovakia belongs to the Reich, because you're not going to be able... So essentially, when you're occupying a state that isn't a core state, you have to use a certain number of manpower and equipment to keep the population not revolt, basically. You don't want them to revolt. Let me find a state that we're occupying right now. Actually, I think all of our states are cores right now, so I can't show you that. But we're going to do this. We're going to set up the Slovak puppet state, which is what happened in real life, because I don't want to have to deal with that. And we can also now extend. So to extend a front line, select the army group you want, click the front line order. You see this little thingy. You can right click it, and then you can drag. And now our front line is extended further, so now we're also invading Poland from the south. Which is what happened in real life. Poland's plan was good. It was like, we're gonna defend along this river and everything. The Allies will help us. And then the Germany annexed Czechoslovakia and kind of threw a massive spanner in the works. Okay. Let's get some more from Brazil, because we're going to lose a lot of that rubber supply in a second. Okay, so if you want to go to war, pick Danziger War. We totally can. We're 100% ready to go to war right now. But let's build up some territory some more, because why not? Let's demand Slovenia. And then we'll go to war here in a minute, even though it's a year early. Going to war early as Germany can totally help you, because it will not allow the Allies to build up as much as they would have otherwise. Okay, I'm beginning to build some synthetic refineries. To do that, you click this and you just build like you would any factories. So I've paused production of those military factories because we need rubber. We need rubber desperately in order to keep our fighter production up. And I will also explain the Air Force once we go to war. It's actually quite simple. The Navy's the more complicated one. In fact, now we have 12 motorized infantry divisions. I'm going to cancel the production of the rest of them. And I'm going to cancel the production of these tank divisions until I have 2 left. Because I just want one of my armies to have 12 tanks and 12 motorized. That'll just be nice and simple. And we only need that much to defeat the Allies. We genuinely could do it with less as well. Okay, now I want to go ahead and do the second Vienna Award so we can have an alliance with Italy. So what that's going to do is, whenever you're at war with the country and you have somebody else in your faction, but they're not in the war, that'll force the AI to garrison that border. So once we have Italy in our faction, France is going to have to garrison this border and not just focus on us. And that's because you can just suddenly call them in and they'll be invaded and completely blindsided. And now we have Slovenia. Oh, I can show you now. So we're occupying Slovenia. So see, we only have access to 2% of the manpower, not a lot of the resources, and we have to garrison it. Okay. So now we've got another infantry division. I'm going to create a new order. So I'm going to call this one defense. Let's go ahead and get a general with some good defense. Why not? But I don't want it to be one of the... Yeah, Kesselring. Kesselring is probably the most famous... One of the most famous German defensive generals. So some people do fallback lines. I always do it like this. They both work. So what you do is you could click on area defense. These are all of the things you ask them to defend. So right now I'm asking them to defend everything. Let's take away victory points. Victory points are basically your towns. Coastline, we don't care about that. Air bases, no. Forts, no. Supply hubs and railways. We do want them to guard naval bases. So now click on your coast, basically. Just click on your entire coast. And Kesselring here is going to guard all the naval bases on that coast when you give him enough men. So I'm going to put all of the divisions to join Kesselring. I can do that by clicking what I showed you and then clicking his portrait. So now all of our divisions that we have ready to go, I'll just deploy them all right now because they don't need to be that trained to defend the coast. Defending is obviously easier than attacking. So now all those divisions are going to go join and defend our ports. So when the UK naval invades, even if they manage to get a beachhead, they won't be able to get very far because they're going to have no supply. And supply is important. Did I just hear gunfire in the game? Okay. Paradox, I see you. Oh, Nanjing has fallen. If we go over to the Second Sino-Japanese War. Okay, the second Vienna Award. Let's give Hungary all of Transylvania because I don't care about Romania that much because we're not going to even be invading the Soviet Union. Oh my god. Hungary is thick now. Anyway, alliance with Italy, and then we're going to do Danziger War, and we're going to go to war early. But that's fine. Okay, now I want to go up to war economy because we're about to go to war. I want a lot of factories. So obviously you go to your laws and government, economy law. We're at partial mobilization. Let's go up to war economy. We're about to go to war real soon. All right. Italy is part of the Axis, or at least they will be in a minute. Now we can do the focus Danziger War. Basically, Poland, we're going to say, give us these lands here because they used to be ours when we were the German Empire. And Poland's going to say no. And then we're going to invade them, kill them, and then we're going to invade France and kill them, and then it's over. That's the end of the tutorial. Let's upgrade our engineer company. I recommend looking into what the different support companies do so you can decide which ones you want to use. Oh, got free military factories. That's great. Now we're going to go up to 30 close air supports. And upgrade our thingy. There we go. And before we go to war with Poland, because we will be going to war in 55 days, I'm going to show you how the air works. So you click these tabs here. This is the default map mode that shows your infantry. This is the naval map mode, and this is the air map mode. This allows you to see the different air zones. For example, Western Poland is an air zone. We're going to be using that one. Okay. So here we go. We've got two air wings here. Your air wings are these things. These are an air wing of tactical bombers. These are an air wing of close air support. I'm going to disband all of these air wings. So what you want to just click and drag over your entire country. I'm just going to disband every single one. You do that by clicking the trash, clicking OK. So we're going to set up for our invasion now. Now, Poland will be really easy to get air superiority over. Now, what I do is I have all of my air wings be 100. So, for example, let's make an air wing of fighters. I'm going to shift click 8 times on this button here, because it'll add 100 each time. And I'm going to click OK, and you're like, wait, but that's an air wing of 800. Nah. Now, I'm just going to click to split the selected air wings in 2, 4 times, and now they're 8 air wings of 100. I'm going to put them, right-click on Western Poland. That'll tell those air wings to go there. And then you can select their mission. Because they are fighters, they can only do air superiority or interception. Do air superiority. Interception helps out if you're being bombed. And we're obviously not being bombed at the moment. And we don't really care about that because Poland's air force isn't very large. Now let's set up some close air support. Why not? Let's do this on a smaller scale. Let's do 800 like I did before. You can do it in different ways. This is just how I always do it. It's the way I'm used to. Now we're selecting 2 air wings. It didn't deselect this one, so just re-click on the ones you put. Click Western Poland. Close air support. Now you can see they don't have the range to cover all of Western Poland, so their efficiency is going to be a bit lower, but not enough to really matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to take over this area really quickly, so I'm not really worried. And that's about all we need for Poland. Then once we get to fighting France, we'll move our air wings over. We'll make some new ones as we invade the Benelux and then France. Oh, and just so you know, generals with the area defense order can take up to 72 divisions. So don't worry about that for now. We'll split them up once we're ready to go on the offensive, like a massive offensive, even though we can win with the army size that we have now. Okay, we're done. So Poland refuses to see Danzig. That means we're going to invade them. We now have a war goal on them. And now Italy can join the Axis, so let's invite them to the faction. You see, this tells you when countries can join your faction. Italy and Bulgaria can join. That's great. We're going to invite both of them. We'll invite Italy, and then we'll click it again. It'll take us over to Bulgaria. We'll invite Bulgaria. Awesome. So now, the independence of Poland is guaranteed by the United Kingdom and France. This is not quite how it was in real life. They didn't declare... Oh, let's turn off that mode. I didn't know how I selected that. In real life, the UK and France guaranteed the independence of Poland from German aggression. But in this game, if I was playing as the Soviets and I invaded, they'd still attack me. So, funny. But that's how it works. Now, as soon as you do the Danziger War focus, do the around Maginot focus, because that'll allow you to invade the Low Countries to get around the Maginot Line, kind of like the Schlieffen Plan from World War I, or essentially exactly what happened in World War II. All right, so we have our war goal. This tells us we have an available war goal on Poland. Let's do it. Declare war. Oh, okay. Jeez, that's a lot. We're not going to call our allies in yet. Okay, so now we are at war with Poland. You can see we're green because that's us, and then we're at war with Poland. So, let's activate our battle plan. I would send our tanks over here. We don't need them. We will be able to beat Poland pretty easily once we get the ball rolling. So Gerd von Rundstedt thinks that this plan's going to work. He's like, yeah, our enemy's inferior. This plan is going to work, and so does our other guy. I think this is von Wakes. No, Erwin von Wisselben. We'll activate his battle plan as well. Now, as you get deeper into the game, you're going to learn how to micromanage your units a lot better. I'm still not the greatest at it. I can do it a bit. But here we're at war. I'll show you an example. The best way to micromanage your units... Here, I won't move these guys for demonstration purposes. To stop a battle order, you just click this. The best way to attack manually is pick tiles that can be attacked from multiple directions, like this one. I could attack him from 2 directions with both of these. Okay. Bulgaria refused the offer. So, you know, there's a lot of bubbles. Green means it's good. Yellow means it's contested pretty well. Against Poland, everything's going to be green. And see, this guy's being attacked by 6 divisions at once from 2 different sides. It's just a little cavalry division. It's over. That's a kind of a basic way to micromanage your divisions, but we're going to activate that whole plan. Make sure he's on aggressive as well, because we're going to be able to sweep them aside. And bang, we'll just let it run. Poland's part of the Allies now, but they're being swallowed up pretty quickly. We lost a convoy. That's going to happen. Looks like they're... See, they have air superiority over here. I imagine that's because they're bombing us. So I'm going to send some fighters over here. I'll show you another way to make your fighters work well. Just click one air wing and you can duplicate them. I'll duplicate until we have 100 or 1,000 fighters. And I'm going to use the interception mission. And now you see we're losing fuel because we're Germany. We don't have good natural resources. So let's go and trade for some oil from the Soviet Union because they're a land connection. So our factories will not our factories, our convoys will not be sunk. Let's trade for 24 units of oil right now. We're also, this is why we need to build synthetics because our convoys are being sunk. And let's get some tungsten as well because we need some more. Okay. And let's let the war run. And now we've got some air experience in order to do this. Battlefield support's the best one I found. What you're going to do is you're going to go here, here, here. Then I like to go with air superiority, this one. Then down, 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 and then there's no more mutual exclusive ones. So I like to take this path. Oh. France naval invaded Mimmel. Oh no, I didn't put a... I forgot to put, what's his face? France naval invaded Mimmel, see? He's stuck though. He's got supplies, but he's stuck. See, that's why I forgot Mimmel's its own little tile. See, even I make mistakes, and I've got some decent experience with this game. But as you see, France is not attacking the Maginot Line. Warsaw has fallen. Poland will soon fall. If we go to the war screen here, you can see Poland is 94% towards capitulation. It controls 24% of its victory points and will capitulate when it has 20% or less. And if you haven't noticed, I've forgotten to call Slovakia into the war, but that actually helps me because Poland still has to garrison this border. You'll notice France is also doing it for Italy. In fact, we could call Slovakia into the war now. Now Poland is being swept aside. Poland has capitulated. Good. Not in real life. That's quite bad in real life. But for us, it's good. Let's go ahead and move our air wings over. So this airbase could only take 600 at once. So let's take 600 of our close air supports over and 600 of our fighters. Oh, we can take an extra 500 fighters. And then we can move the rest over to different air bases. Like this one. Okay. Moving around our air force. We finished the round Maginot Line. Historically, next would be Operation Weserübung, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to defeat France, and we'll be all done with this tutorial. So now our guys need somewhere to go. Oh, I forgot. We're now going to add this guy into the army group. Let's delete all the orders that I just gave that army group, even though I could have done it a different way. That's fine. Let's let them all come over. Oh, forgot. Strategic redeployment. We need them to move across really quickly. So again, France is still not attacking the Maginot Line. That's great. They're just not going to. All right, all our guys are over here now. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to be hated by everyone. It's fine, though. We're going to declare war on all of the Low Countries at once. Yeah, it's mean. I know it's mean. I'm sorry. Let's let them all join the Allies. There we go. Okay, let's do this. Well, no. Okay. Guys, I'm sorry. I know. Okay, now I'm really not good. Like, I have a deficit of 38 rubber. Because the Dutch East Indies hates my guts because I just invaded the Netherlands. And we've defeated France. We will establish Vichy France, just like they did in history. And that's it. Basic tutorial of Hoi 4. Took a while, but thanks for watching, guys.